Hello everybody and welcome into the Grindstone Developments Truck Series live tonight with the third race of the season as we make a stop at the famous Michigan International Speedway. A lot of drivers with big hopes to win in the Irish Hills here tonight, and we have got a good one in store. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Well, before we get in to all the storylines, we've got a stacked field here tonight, so let's get right down trackside and get into tonight's starting grid. The man who will start on the pole here tonight is none other than last week's winner, Craig Janczak in the 97. He'll be looking to see if he can go back-to-back here tonight. Bryce Rayner, another one of the Team Conti drivers. He'll roll off second tonight. It's going to be Tyler Barnett making his first start of the season tonight from the third spot. John Legger on the outside of row 2 and fourth. Randy Sample, he had a good run in the first race of the season. He'll start fifth tonight. Tyler Meeks back in sixth. That's going to be Brock Whitehead back in seventh. William Mann Jr. to his outside in eighth. And back in row 10 is going to be Peyton Holland and Brad Thacker. Jason Nethery will be on the inside of row number 6. David Palmer to his outside in 12th. Back in row number 7 tonight, it's going to be Jason Machad alongside George Young. Kevin Kirchar makes his first start of the season here tonight. The 91 will roll off 15th. Trey Whitehead to his outside in 16th. Zachary Crabtree, tough race for him last week at Pocono. He'll look to recover here tonight. He'll start 17th. Brian High's going to have some work to do. He'll roll off from the outside of row number 9. Sheldon Pearson in 19th, and Charles Whitehead rounding out the top 20. And the last man to start in the field here tonight in 21st is going to be the 70 of Chris Logan. Looking at your race info, again, third race of the season here tonight, and it is the Michigan 120. We're at Michigan International Speedway, known for, of course, the wide and fast turns. Michigan International Speedway, 2 miles in length. Track temp here tonight, definitely on the hotter side, coming in at 120 degrees to start. As always, though, you do have 2 sets of tires in the pits, 1 fast repair, fixed setups, and then 2 green-white checkers if we were to need them. And don't forget here tonight, 100% fuel. We'll talk about what that means for pit stops. And the distance we're going to run, 60 laps around this 2-mile D-shaped oval. All right, well, the field 2x2 getting ready to go here, and we're going to die the music out as the engines get ready to roar to life for the first time here tonight and in the biggest field so far this season. Big opportunity. Anybody can win it at Michigan. Who's going to be the one to make it happen tonight? Janczak and Rayner rolling into the restart zone. Here we go. Green flag is in the air. We are underway at Michigan. Good restart out of the gate as the field still getting up to full song, but through turn 1 and 2, the 97 poked out to the lead, but here comes Bryce Rayner. Using the momentum on the outside, he'll pull back even with his teammate as they rocket down the backstretch. You got to be really careful here. Cold tires is a very tricky thing here at Michigan International Speedway, but everybody knows how desperate it is to also gain as much track position as you can early. It is worth making a quick note that while we are at Michigan here tonight, you might notice it looks a little different. This is actually Legacy Michigan, so the track surface, if you will, a little bit rougher, but still the same style racetrack overall. Same amount of banking in the corners, and we're still going to see those speeds reaching well to the 180s, potentially 190s, as these guys run down the long curve front straightaway. Bryce Rayner, though, now with the lead. He's got about a 2-truck length lead over his teammate, Craig Janczak. John Legger quick to settle into third. And you've got Tyler Barnett, Randy Sample Still racing hard inside the top 5. 2 by 2 as you head further back in the field, though. A couple guys still jockeying for position here. One of them is the 29 of William Mann Jr., looking to see if he can stack his first good run of the season here tonight. It's one of the drivers out of North Carolina. And for William Mann Jr. right now, he's going to tuck into the draft down the straightaway. Such a key factor here at Michigan. We talk about the long straightaways and the high speed. That's two ingredients that are all about how much draft can you hold on to, and that's what really keeps you up close to the drivers that you're chasing. But as the tires wear out, that will change. The draft starts to lose its effect just a little bit. And all the way towards the back of the field right now, battle for that 17th spot. George Young thought about a look to the inside here of Charles Whitehead, but nothing doing there. So he'll stay where he runs at the moment. Just a couple spots up. Kevin Kirchhoff qualified 15th. He's currently down one spot from where he started this race at, but Kevin, we talked about, had a lot of speed in select races during the late model series last season, but just was never able to quite put it all together. The trucks, though, something Kevin is much more used to. A few seasons back, actually got a win back at Atlanta Motor Speedway, so he is no stranger to winning here in the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. We'll see if he can get back to victory lane here this season. 4 laps already in the books, and still the top 10 all within about an arm's reach of each other. The 84 of Tyler Barnett on the outside. Meeks is going to get a big run as he'll look to the inside. Not going to be able to make the pass work this time. Brock Whitehead, he'll have a run now. Does he decide to take it or does he stick in line? It's always tough on where you want to make the moves here because it's so easy to kind of get in a battle with that guy you're chasing. You try to side draft him, next thing you know, that stalls out both of your runs, and the guy that's sitting behind you all of a sudden goes 3 wide and you get past. And kind of a 2-for-1 move, but for Brock Whitehead and really Trey Whitehead as well, 2 of those Whitehead racing teammates who are currently sitting 7th and 8th, they're looking for a little redemption here tonight. Remember last week, the Turkey Triangle, both of those trucks were extremely fast, but it just didn't work out. Brock and Trey getting caught up in incidents late, and that did end their night. So looking for a good run here tonight, and certainly going to be in contention and fighting for that win as we get into the latter portions of this race. Boy, 2 colorful cars here to continue to lead at the front of the field. If you remember a few weeks back, Bryce Rayner said he felt like that maybe he was a little better than Janczak when it came to the short run. Janczak said the opposite, said he feels like Bryce was maybe a little better than him when it comes to the long run. Those two, either way, though, going to be fun to watch all season as they continue to battle. And some connection issues here for the 87 of Rayner. He has disappeared at the front. Oh, man, starts to fade back. That's not what you want to see. Hoping that Bryce can get back into the field here before it's too late. We'll have to see what happens, as it looks like, yes, he has reappeared on the racetrack, if you will. So that is the good news there for the driver of the number 87. So still single file up front, but the field really goes, I would say, as far back as, heck, you look at it here and think, what, probably about 10, 15 cars, all still with what I would consider to be this lead pack. And these guys continuing to kind of dance around right now. 7 of 60 laps, though, complete. And with that, good chance to talk about a little bit of fuel mileage here tonight. These trucks at this track likely going to go somewhere just past the 30-lap range. Now, it depends on how much you're able to save while you're in the draft, but I think if you're up front, that's kind of the number that you're going to be looking to hit. So for everybody, should be a one-stopper. 4 tires and fuel, I think, would be the call across the board. Unless, of course, we get that ever-tricky caution. You never know when it's going to fly at a track like Michigan, especially when things get crazy. But we want to talk about crazy. If we get any restarts here tonight, you are going to see just that. It is going to get exciting, and if you're just tuning in, you are watching the Grindstone Developments Truck Series live from Irish Hills, Michigan. Still single file on back, but you notice what Craig Janczak's doing here. I think he's just kind of playing it conservative. He's content with where he is. He knows that that draft keeps him close enough to his teammate. No move yet, but as he's got a little run down the front stretch, looked like maybe he thought about it, but not going to make the move yet. Instead, he'll tandem up with the 87 of Rayner. Those two are going to pull about a 5-truck length lead as they work down the front straightaway. Man, that was a big run out back, too, for John Legger. He was trying to pick up a position there on the 84 of Tyler Barnett. And for Barnett, that's kind of another storyline in of itself. If you remember, last season, he came into the late models and was kind of like this rookie sensation, came out of nowhere. He was able to win a couple races before we didn't see him for a little while after that. And here he is back to the field tonight. Going to try to make something happen here in the early going. Well, we do have some driver cams tonight, and we're going to go ahead and kick things off here first with the man who's running second, the furthest up in the field, and that is Craig Janczak. You see on your screen there, Janczak probably getting a little nervous there seeing his teammate blink out, but he's actually going to get a move made on him right here. That was actually the 47 Randy Sample, another Team Conti teammate. That was a very impressive maneuver, and now Sample once more. Look at this, to the inside, goes to 47, down the backstretch. Going to try to slide clear into turn 3. Can he make it stick? Rayner washes up just enough, and yes, the 47 of Randy Sample. How about that for a move to the lead? The 47 was able to pull a little bit of a dive bomb into the corner, slides clear on exit. And now the question is, can he try to run away from these guys? Staying on the topic of driver cams here tonight, you just saw Craig Janczak, but another driver to watch is going to be, of course, the 87 of Bryce Rayner. He's already found victory lane once this season, looking to see if he can do it again. And where he currently runs, got himself in that second spot, and he led the most laps so far here tonight. So he's certainly got to be feeling good about his chances. Still about 20 laps or so to go before pit stops really become any sort of a concern. So no rush there. And then turning a little bit further back in the field here, Tyler Meeks still up inside the top 10, and I believe this is the first time Tyler's been carrying an onboard view for us. So we appreciate him carrying the cockpit view for us tonight. As with 12 of 60 laps complete, you notice he's kind of on an island by himself. And this is usually how it works at Michigan. You heard me mention a little bit earlier in the race that as tires start to wear out, the draft isn't as effective, and you'll usually see those cars that are a little bit further back start to tail off first, and then that lead pack will start to break apart as we get later into the run. And last but certainly not least, another driver making his first start of the season here tonight, Peyton Holland. That is the driver out of Addison, Alabama. He's carrying an onboard view for us here tonight, and look at the wheel movement. You think at Michigan here it's such an easy track to drive. Normally it is, but when you factor in a 120-degree track temp, it's just so slick, especially as we start to get into the middle portions of the run. I think for Peyton, more than anything here, you're just trying to obviously kind of keep the truck under you for now and hope that the grip comes to you a little bit more as the run goes on if you do conserve those tires. But you can certainly see handling going to be an issue as we go through this race. Battle back on for the lead here. You saw Bryce Rayner was able to get it back from the 47 a Sample, but Craig Janczak is right there knocking on the door once again. He looks to the inside, wraps the apron through 3 and 4. But you get so much momentum on the exit of the corner here that for Bryce Rayner, these guys not going to be able to make it happen this time. You notice, though, they're going to tandem up 3 deep. Barnett on the back bumper of Sample. Sample on the back bumper of Janczak. Still, though, nobody able to get close enough to set up a move on Bryce Rayner as they went into 1. And, man, with all the battling we're seeing on track here tonight, we talk about a lot of guys obviously being in contention for a win. But you also always got to be keeping in mind what the point standings are looking like and where everybody sits. This early on in the season, Bryce Rayner currently leads in the point standings after winning the first race of the season at Texas. But Craig Janczak, remember, there is 1 drop race, so him not making the first week did not matter. He was able to tie up Bryce Rayner in points after his win last week, so those two currently tied for that championship lead. Randy Sample third, only 5 points behind. Harley Barletta only 6 points behind in 4th. And same deal for John Thacker, who's tied for that 4th spot in points. And then John Legger, excuse me, that was Brad Thacker, who I was referencing. John Legger, though, back in 6th. He's tied with Tyler Meeks. Those two both sitting just outside the top 5 in the point standings. But you get the idea here, even all the way back to top 10 in points, which still includes Jason Nethery, Caleb Forsyth, Brian Hyde, Charles Whitehead. There's a lot of guys still in the running here. It could be maybe one of the closest championships that we have seen in seasons, as we are now officially a quarter of the way through this race. Janczak's going to lead him across the line this time. About halfway through to when we could potentially see that first pit stop of the night. For Randy Sample, currently sitting in 3rd. Tyler Barnett here, I think if anything, is maybe looking for a dancing partner here. We talk about how much draft means on the straightaways here, and it's not as easy to do as what we would see at the super speedways, but still similar to what you could do at a Daytona or Talladega. Get somebody to go with you here, come down the front stretch. That little bit of drafting help could be all you need to try to complete a pass. Barnett, though, he went for it right there, and you could see not quite able to get clear. This is really going to hurt him down the straightaway. Those two Team Conti teammates make it 3 rather. All going to stay on the high side. Sample drafts back clear. And for the 84 Barnett, he's going to have to tuck back up in line here just in front of the 61 of Brock Whitehead. And every time you do that move, you take just a little bit more life out of the tires. This boy Whitehead got way up the racetrack right there. And now he's really loose. Man, he's sawing on the wheel, trying to keep that truck in line. It looks like he's going to be okay this time, but for Brock Whitehead, that was a really close call and a big-time moment there coming off of turn 2. That allows John Legger to make a move to the inside. The 19's going to slide clear. And, seeing some trouble here further towards the back. Zachary Crabtree down to the pits. So whatever the issue was, the 54 was able to at least make it down to pit road. Good-looking paint scheme on board, but based off some of the damage that I'm seeing on that truck, check out the back end. I have a feeling here he may have got loose coming off of turn 4, backed it into the outside wall. That's just a guess. Let's go back and actually see if we can figure out where he gets this damage. Well, definitely does get into the outside wall here going into the corner, but doesn't quite hit it the way I thought he did. You see he's all by himself here, but just gets a little bit arrow loose, and as the back end starts to slide, he's got to get up to catch it. Some contact with the outside safer barrier. It didn't look that bad. But obviously, aero damage a lot more important. Oh, and didn't see that second spin. That was going to be the one there. Probably did it for him. And you see, decides maybe in his best interest there to make the U-turn. And not quite the U-turn, but certainly the 90-degree turn. Get that truck down to the pits. So nice job by Crabtree there to stay out of the way of the leaders once he ran into some trouble. But, man, really rooting for the 54 here to have a good run. He was one of the rookies last season, and Crabtree is still trying to find his footing. Looks like he did get that truck back out on the racetrack. 2 laps down. Definitely going to need a break here in the form of some cautions, but we won't completely count him out of it just yet. You see a couple battles going on now. Oh, we had one way loose right there. I think that was Kevin Kirchar. Yes, it was. The 91. And a big-time catch there coming off the 2. That's going to allow David Palmer, who we have not mentioned yet tonight. He'll sneak by right here. And Palmer had a pretty good qualifying effort. Started in 12th, but the short-run speed just wasn't there for him. He fell back and now currently sits in that 19th spot. Charles Whitehead chasing after Chris Logan and Peyton Holland. George Young, he's up in 14th now as him and Caleb Forsyth make that Sheldon Pearson rather go side by side into turn 1. And for Pearson, same thing as we've seen a lot of guys struggle with. The inside is kind of more that racing line, but when it comes to playing defense, everybody utilizes the high side of the racetrack here at Michigan. Get that great big run going down the front and back stretch, and if you can just fend the guy off through the corner, it's so easy to get that spot back. The one thing you got to be careful of, too, when you make these big dives down to the inside through the corner, a lot of times the driver on the high side is going to try to pinch you, and we already saw Crabtree and really a few others, too, getting loose here tonight. And that 120-degree track temp, it is unforgiving. As soon as that truck starts to jump out of line, it can be really, really tough to catch it. And it looks like now Tyler Barnett is going to take a peek to the inside here. Couldn't quite make it work, though. I think if you're Tyler Barnett here, obviously you got to feel a little bit frustrated. He knows that maybe he's just a little bit quicker than some of these guys, but he can't quite get enough help in the form of draft down the front backstretch to actually complete this pass. So he'll continue to try to work, but you notice now, and I'll show you it here on the track map, we're starting to see a little separation here between the groups. Top 4 have pulled away from everybody else. Brock Whitehead on an island kind of by himself. John Legger, though, still chasing. Jason Nethery leads another one of those groups. Trey Whitehead, Brad Thacker, and Tyler Meeks are there as well. And then you go back to probably about the 4th or 5th group here. Brian High, Jason Machad going at it. The 46 trying to see if he can get his Chevy Silverado clear of the 13. Not going to do it this time, but Crabtree working on those fresher tires as a lap car here. Maybe going to provide a little bit of help to the 46. Machad content to stick with that 12th spot, though, right now. And George Young battling still with Sheldon Pearson. Those two have been going door-to-door for the last several laps. And then there is the 18 of Peyton Holland, who we talked about a little bit earlier, making his first start of the season here tonight. And he will also be a rookie this season, so he's obviously got a lot to try to prove, but had a good qualifying effort to start here tonight. Just looking to see if he can find a little bit more speed as we get into the longer run of this race. But we're now just probably about 7 to 10 laps away from that one and only green flag pit stop that we are expecting here tonight. And I think if you're one of these top two, I know they're teammates, so I'm so curious to see, do they pit at the same time or do they try to maybe go with separate strategies? Does Janczak try to catch his teammate off guard and pit a lap early? I mean, I think if you're Bryce Rayner, if you've still got the lead when we get to that pit window, I think obviously you try to stay out as long as you can, but Janczak with another move to the inside and maybe not even necessarily looking for a pass here, if nothing else. Just trying to get a little bit of clean air on the front nose of his Chevy Silverado just to see if he can keep grip in those Goodyear tires a little bit longer. It gets really tough to do when you start to get in dirty air going through the corner this late in the run. The 84 Barnett just continues to fight, trying everything here to get by the 47 to Sample. He's got it, but he's got to slide up now. Can the 84 clear that pass? He does. What a move by Tyler Barnett as he'll now shift up to third. Randy Sample falls to fourth. And watch out, as this 84 are going to likely try to start giving chase after your two Team Conti teammate leaders. Well, a couple quick housekeeping notes that I do want to mention to everybody. If you're one of the drivers watching this, a lot of guys in this race here tonight going to be running the Daytona 24 in iRacing this coming weekend, and two of them are the ones that are at the front of the field right now. So wishing Bryce Rayner and Craig Janczak the best of luck in that event. Also, the PGR 500 less than a month away, and listen to this, folks, $3,000 guaranteed to the winner of that race, $10,000 plus in cash prizes that go throughout the rest of the field. You can go get signed up at PGR eSports today. It is going to be a good one. You saw the big move right there at the front of the field. Janczak, how about that pass for the lead? He was able to get enough of a draft, jumped all the way down to the bottom of the racetrack. Remember, there is no out of bounds here, so you can utilize that shorter way around the racetrack, and he was able to get just enough to get clear of his teammate Bryce Rayner. And part of me almost wonders if these two are almost doing this on purpose, similar to what you'd see in an IndyCar, kind of slingshotting each other every once in a while down the straight. It's just kind of keep trying to advance position. But, oh, Bryce Rayner gets a little bit of the outside wall right there. And that's going to cost him some time. Janczak's finally going to get just a little bit of breathing room. And here comes Randy Sample. Tyler Barnett chasing as well. Randy Sample, he's got some momentum up here, though. Watch out if you're Bryce Rayner. Could be a crossover coming here for the 47 to Sample. Yes, he's going to look back to the inside. Bryce Rayner with the momentum, though. We'll see what gives here to turn 3 if you're the 47. You got to dive it in, get all the way down to the bottom and try to slide clear, but he's not going to do it. See, Rayner's able to lean on his door. Sample gets really tight. Watch out down low. Here comes Tyler Barnett. He's going to try to make a pass off of turn 4. Barnett looking for maybe a 2-for-1 here, but I don't know if he's got quite enough momentum to carry. Briefly got clear of Sample, but there's nowhere for him to slide up. And he'll have to take that shallower entry down into turn 1. Janczak's loving what he sees in his mirror. The more these guys race, the more he can try to sneak away. And already we are just 2 laps from the halfway point here tonight. It goes quickly. For the 87, Bryce Rayner, ever since he made that contact with the outside wall, it's costing him here just a little bit. Barnett with another move to the inside now. The big question is, can he find a way to make it work this time? Ooh, Sample, you saw the front tire right there. He was starting to slip a little bit. Barnett was able to get clear. And you look out kind of the rear view here for Barnett, and you can see any other trucks are about a quarter of a straightaway back. These guys, again, have absolutely pulled away. The gap right now between 4th and 5th is about 3 to 4 seconds. So this group will likely pit together, but this is what you got to be careful of right here. These two starting to get after it a little bit more than maybe they wanted to. Barnett will get the position, but you see what that allowed the front two to do. They just got about a second gap. But they were able to pull away right there from Barnett and Sample as they got into it. Bryce Rayner still, though, about half a second back from Craig Janczak as it stands at the moment. Brock Whitehead, the 61 machine, currently sitting in 5th. He's picked up a couple of spots from where he started this race at. There's John Legger just behind him in 6th. Jason Ethery still going at it here with Tyler Meeks and the 56 of Brad Thacker. 56 here of Meeks trying to get clear. Excuse me, the 7 of Meeks trying to get clear. And he will indeed take that spot from last season's champion, Jason Nethery. And if your Meeks right here, talked about he qualified 6th, fell a couple of spots there towards the middle portion of the run, but still has himself inside the top 10, so a pretty good run going at the moment. And there's the rear view for Jason Nethery. You see Brad Thacker trying to chase him down as we now complete 31 of 60 laps. I would say over the next probably 2 to 3 laps, that's when we're going to see some pit stops here. Already seeing reports of Kevin Kirchart in the pits. I'm not sure if this was an issue we potentially missed here for the 91. I'm not seeing any service being done to that truck. Didn't get any reports of any issues for Kirchart, so again, not really sure what happened here. But something has gotten that truck parked in the pits for now. Zachary Crabtree still sitting 2 laps down. Chris Logan has fallen a lap down. Trey Whitehead has as well. I wonder if those two had already made their stop. Brian High, Jason Machado are certainly making theirs right now. Randy Sample, he brings it down this time. So I want to give a thanks to James Harris. He gave us the info on that fuel window, and it was accurate. 32 to 34 laps is when we're seeing a lot of these guys making those green flag stops. Peyton Holland, he brings his number 18 Toyota Tundra in here for some service. And so as everybody starts to cycle out, it's going to be interesting to see what the leaders do here. Craig Janczak working into turn 3. Is he going to bring the 97 down this time, or does he stay out? Looks like he'll stay out for the moment. So some of these guys went with kind of splitting it down the middle, but obviously the strategy, as almost always, if you're up front, try to run it as long as you can so that on that second run you can use those fresher tires as much as you want to as we close in on the end of the race. 33, though, again, of 60 laps complete. If you're just tuning in, pit cycle's underway here. The Grindstone Developments Truck Series at Michigan. John Legger was having a good run going. He's going to pit here. And I would assume the call for everybody, by the way, is 4 tires and fuel. I've yet to see different. But we'll actually watch one of those pit stops here for John Legger. You see the pit crew there. Going to lift up the right side of that truck, so he'll change rights. And if you're changing rights, it's almost a guarantee that you're going to be changing lefts at a track like Michigan. So Legger fills it up with gas, 4 tires, and he's good to go. As he will leave the pits back outside of the top 10. And right now, only 14 trucks being scored on the lead lap. But that is, of course, because the rest of your leaders have not went in for their service just yet. But once they do, it should put most of the field back in contention on the lead lap. It's been pretty clean. I'll tell you what, very impressed with these guys, especially, again, when you just factor in how hot the track temp was. We saw that at Texas, and just so difficult to deal with, and that track temp has actually climbed up even more. 124 degrees now. And for Craig Janczak here, you saw the telemetry there going through the corner, mid-150s. He's going to slow up, though. Time for a pit stop here for your front 3. Janczak pits. Bryce Rayner tries to close that gap in. Tyler Barnett, he'll make it down without any issues as well. So this is going to be interesting because Tyler Barnett, I feel that he stayed close enough to these front 2 guys that depending on how they come out of the pits here, he may have a shot to try to get back within drafting range and stick with them coming down to the end. And I don't know if you caught that there, but Bryce Rayner just barely overshooting his pit stop. And you see when the right side on these trucks go down, kind of a good indication on where they're going to get out. And I think they're probably going to have about a 1.5 second lead over the 84 here once things actually get up to speed as they'll shuffle out. We got a couple more pit stops here. William Mann Jr., Tyler Meeks, Brad Thacker, David Palmer, George Young, Charles Whitehead, all in for their only stop here of the night. So this one looks like it's just about wrapped up because Brock Whitehead, he'll now pit as well. And Randy Sample, who did pit a little bit earlier than the leaders, will now assume the lead. And that 47 car, he's got pretty good pace. The big question is going to be, with the tire disadvantage he's got, can he find a way to fend off those other 2 Team Conti trucks for the rest of this race? See Sample just crossing the line. Craig Janczak, as it stands here, looks like is going to be scored right about 3 seconds back, so that's not much leeway here. But Janczak had a really good pit stop. You see the difference between him and Bryce Rayner, and then Tyler Barnett currently sitting just under 1.5 seconds behind the 87. John Legger in 5th. But he did pit a lap earlier, so I would suspect here that the 19 is going to start to fall off from those guys as we go through about the next 10 to 15 laps. We'll have to keep an eye on it. So with all the pit stops now cycling out, you notice on the scoring tower there on the left side of your screen that we now have 19 trucks on the lead lap. Zachary Crabtree currently being scored a lap down, and then we talked about Kevin Kirchar again. Not sure what the issue was here for the 91. Not sure if just parked it for the night or again what the deal was. It appears his night has come to an end. We're actually waiting here since things have cycled out. Let's see if we can pull Kevin up and see if we can get an idea of what may have happened here to this 91 truck. Hey Kevin, this is Austin up in the booth. Got a copy? And I believe he may have actually stepped away here, waiting for this race to wrap up. So we'll go ahead and move him back down for now. But definitely curious as to what the issue would have been here for the 91 to retire him from the race. We'll see if we can maybe get some more details on that later. But back at the front of the field, that gap starting to slowly close here between Randy Sample and Craig Janzak. You notice for Janzak, just over the course of really about the last couple of laps here, he's been able to get that gap down to about 2.5 seconds. We'll try to continue to close that. We got a chance to show you the dashboard telemetry there on old tires, but check it out on new tires. We talked about how fast Michigan is here. Almost wide open. You got to lift out a little bit early on through the corners, and then obviously that fades out even more as the run goes on. But down the straightaways here, again, it is really fast. By yourself, over 180 miles an hour. When you start to bring some draft into it, the speeds can actually pick up even more than that. For Bryce Rayner here, though, by the time you dive into turn one, about 183 miles an hour for the driver of the number 87. Ooh, Sample, big catch right there. That truck washed up the racetrack. That's going to cost him some time. Now falls to almost 2 seconds. The gap separating him and Craig Janzak. And boy, I'll tell you what, if you are Janzak here, it's a little bit stressful too, because you know that you've got the better equipment here than the driver you're chasing, and with that though, you just don't want to make a mistake, anything that could cost you some time. So for Janzak right here, just trying to be really, really smooth on the wheel. And he knows that once he gets to right around within 1.5 seconds or so, he's going to really start to chase down the 47 of Sample. And boy, how about Bryce Rayner? He's actually been able to get back within drafting range of that 97 truck. So he could still very well be in the battle for the lead here as it comes down to the end of this thing. And turning back to two of our other driver cams that we had here tonight, Peyton Holland currently sitting in 18th. As you see, we're going to see if he can get by the 54 Crabtree, one of the lappers. Oh, watch out, contact! Does everybody keep it together? We got one in the grass here. It's Charles Whitehead. As Crabtree got down into him, and that almost spelled disaster. What in the world just happened there? The 51 of Whitehead's got to be scratching his head, asking the same question as they come off of turn 4. Check this out. See Crabtree again was just kind of running around here on the outside. And it looks like 51 Whitehead gets a great big run. Does the 54 get a little loose? It doesn't look like it. Just Crabtree coming down right there. I'm not sure if he was... Maybe he didn't realize that the 51 was down there because of where... Maybe he thought that, you know, with Charles getting a little loose right there, because you do see the 51. He gets loose coming off of 4. Maybe he thought he went into pits. Either way, I just don't think Crabtree knew he was down here. Just drives right into his door. And then for Whitehead here, takes a wild ride through the grass. The 51, though, does a heck of a job here to get that truck straightened up. Get himself back out on the racetrack. Man, that was close to being our first caution of the night, and that would really change things up at the front of the field. But everybody keeps it clean at the moment. And you can see now that gap between first and second, under a second. And Bryce Rayner has joined the party, so we are getting ready to see a three-way battle for the lead, probably within about the next 2 to 3 laps. And if you're just tuning in, again, you are watching the Grindstone Developments Truck Series live on PGR eSports, third race of the season here at Michigan International Speedway. And we talked a lot about point standings and what it means for everybody going forward based on how you finish this race tonight. One thing that we know for sure is one of the guys that are currently sitting top 3 in points, if this race stays green, is likely going to be leaving here still holding that lead or potentially changing into that lead spot, because your top 3 in points are Bryce Rayner, Craig Janzak, and Randy Sample. The top 3 in the race, Randy Sample, Craig Janzak, and Bryce Rayner. By the way, brief kind of update here on what the schedule looks like for these guys as we go through the rest of the season. A lot of good tracks this year. And a lot of drivers were looking forward to it. Before we get to the schedule, though, we'll actually hold that thought for a minute because the battle for the lead has tightened up even quicker than I initially thought. And you can see both Janczak and Rayner, they're on the back bumper, but they're going to have to maneuver around a lap car 3 wide as they get around Crabtree. Janczak had to also fend off the 87 Rayner in the process, 2 wide. The battle for second, Sample hoping that it stays that way. Maybe the only chance here for the 47. It's still going to be 16 laps to go when we cross the line this time, and that is a long way here at a 2-mile track. Randy Sample, now he's going to get put 3 wide on the high side as the 47 slips. The 97 and the 87 are going to pull clear. New leader at Michigan, and it's Craig Janczak. And now it turns more to the story of Janczak trying to fend off his teammate Bryce Rayner. I got to be honest, I don't know if Sample is going to have anything else for these guys. Unless he was saving a little bit of tire, just waiting for them to get back up here. Now the 47 is going to try it. You see him cross over the 87 to the inside. Randy Sample is going to look for a move here. Looks like that run did die out. Not enough momentum to actually go to the inside as now he blinks out briefly. Bryce Rayner looking back to the inside here. This could be a battle between him and Janczak pretty much for the entire rest of this race. Janczak going to cover a move here down to the bottom. He saw the 87 had a bit of a run. And he's not going to let him go that easily. I think if you're Craig Janczak right here, we're at that point in the race where clean air's king. You have got to fight for all you can get right here. I think if the 87 Rayner gets by and gets that clean air, it could be trouble here for Janczak. Randy Sample starting to fade just a little bit now. He currently sits about half a second behind the 2 leaders. Bryce Rayner here going to take yet another look to the inside here. Question is, can he make it stick this time around? Nothing doing there. Trying to switch the camera view over, but you can see these guys are separated themselves from the field in a pretty big way. We wondered if Tyler Barnett was going to be able to catch up and stick with these guys, but hasn't been able to happen. He's about 2.5 seconds back. As the battle for the lead now shaping up. This could be for the race win here. Side by side down the backstretch. Bryce Rayner on the inside, Craig Janczak on the outside. What more could you ask for in the later portions of a race here at Michigan? 2 previous champions in the Grindstone Developments Truck Series going at it. And a former winner last season in Randy Sample trying to hang with the 2 Team Conti teammates that he's chasing down. And I do wonder if you're Bryce Rayner, as much as he wants to get that move now, if part of him thinks if they go side by side for too long, Sample tries to catch him off guard and maybe makes a pass here 3 wide going into one of the corners. But boy, as it stands right now, you can just tell the 87 feels like he's got a little bit of something on Craig Janczak, but he just cannot make that pass work. We said earlier that outside line here is so good at defense, especially when you get this hotter track temp. You just don't have as much grip on the inside. But Rayner's going to continue to look, trying to get any clean air on the nose that he can. 2 Chevys up front. Make it 3 with Randy Sample. But some of your biggest movers, by the way, inside the top 10. Jason Nethery, he's up 4 spots from where he started this race at in 7th. And Trey Whitehead has gotten himself back up to the 10th spot. And that is 6 positions ahead of where he started this race from. We're still watching the battle for the lead, but I did want to make note of some of the upcoming races here in the coming weeks. Next week, we head off to the Brickyard, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That's going to be a good one. And kind of similar to Michigan in the sense that you've got the really long straightaways there, but definitely runs a lot different in the corners. Rockingham will be our next really technical track to follow, and that'll be on January 27th. Then it's off to Homestead, Miami, followed by 2 restrictor plate tracks, Daytona and Atlanta. We're going to head off to potentially a road course in Long Beach. And Phoenix will be the host of your championship here this season. Bryce Rayner trying it again. This time, though, he's got a better shot. He was side by side with Janczak into the corner. But once again, the 97 just barely able to defend him through the corner and then uses that momentum on exit to get a little bit of breathing room as they work down the straightaway. We're going to be coming to 10 laps to go this time, and while the front 3 all still within about a second of each other, Tyler Barnett, he's now down to about 2.2 seconds back, so maybe find a little something here late. John Legger back in 5th. Good run going for him. Jason Nethery See him back battling with Brad Thacker. One of the lap trucks, Crabtree, is there as well. Tyler Meeks. He's trying to chase these guys down. Oh, watch out. 61 of Whitehead. He's loose. Brock Whitehead trying to save it. Oh, man, can he hold on? 61's going to slide. Does this draw a caution? No. Whitehead was finally able to catch it down in the grass coming off the corner, but he's going to have to take it to the pits. And was that close or what? That was almost our first caution of the night, and it would have came late race. And for Brock Whitehead, we've seen him getting loose a couple times here tonight, just fighting for everything he can late in the run. And that truck just did not want to cooperate. Boy, look how quickly it snaps out on him. This was actually the second spin. Second slide, I should say. It all starts with he's racing his teammate here. Maybe a little bit of contact. It's hard to tell right there between him and Trey, but that gets him loose initially. He catches it, but then the second correction gets him even more sideways. But he is able to drive it down through the grass, and oh my goodness, did you see how close he came to hitting that pit wall? Whew. Well, that could have been a whole lot worse for Brock Whitehead. Watch this. I should back this up a little further and show you this initial spin. See right here, no contact between him and Trey, just gets a little loose. Maybe a little bit of dirty air there. Starting to come into his wake, and then here's that second save, but then watch this. Ball comes up quick. Man, he might have even just gave it a love tap right there. Holy cow, was that close. Nice job, though, by Brock Whitehead to hang on to that truck. Well, we do have a change in the battle for the lead now. Bryce Rayner, for the moment, has bested Craig Janczak here with just 8 laps to go here at Michigan. Can Janczak get that truck poised up for another move? These two have been entertaining all night. For Craig Janczak, though, talk about him leading. He was trying so hard to defend, but notice the distance here. That's a group of 3 lap trucks. This could get a little interesting on if those guys come into the picture. How does that affect this battle for the lead? That would obviously play into a little bit of dirty air depending on the line that those lap cars do run through the corner. But at least with the way it stands right now, 7 laps to go, Janczak is not falling away too quickly here. Still hanging tight. Meanwhile, Randy Sample has fallen back now 2 seconds back from the leaders. And Tyler Barnett going to look to see if he can run and potentially pass him before we get to the end of this race. John Legger, we talked about him in 5th. As we turn now to the blimp cam, those lap cars are quickly approaching here. As you can see, Craig Janczak going to go for another move on the inside here. Can't quite make it work. Maybe. Oh, man, he was so close to being able to get the side draft there on exit of the corner, but wasn't quite able to get to the left fender. Left rear quarter panel, I should say, of Rayner. And if we did get a caution at this point forward, it would likely send us into overtime. And you can see Bryce Rayner maybe getting a little loose. And, you know, one thing I will say is kind of interesting, especially when you get later in the run here at Michigan. When you get that change for the lead, the handling changes significantly and way more noticeably than what you would have at a lot of other racetracks, because you're getting a lot more clean air on the front nose. But that also means that the back end is going to tend to get a little bit more loose. So something to keep in mind. But they get around the first lap car there of David Palmer without any issues. Next up is Charles Whitehead. It looks like Peyton Holland in the 18. And obviously, you got to think in a case for these guys here. I know we're only coming to 4 laps to go when we cross the line next time, but you're still fighting to stay on the lead lap here if you can. If you're Peyton Holland, I know Whitehead's already one down, but not going to matter here. The 18 is going to still keep it respectable as he'll dive out of the way. You see Charles Whitehead go by as well as Holland got into the wall there coming off of turn 2, but those lap cars did potentially about as much as Bryce Rayner would have wanted them to. And that has caused just enough separation here, about a half a second, between himself and Craig Janczak to allow a little bit of breathing room. And now after Bryce Rayner, you're going to try to snake that draft here down the straightaway, trying to prevent any sort of help to the 97 to try to catch back up here. 4 laps to go. But remember, we've got to get to the white flag before this race would be deemed official. Well, these two have been going at it all night. Early on, it was the 87 of Rayner and Janczak leading. Latter portions of this race, well, same story. Last week, though, it was Janczak who was able to fend off Rayner at the end. This week, though, long green flag run. All race here with the potential to go green flag to green flag. I should say green flag start to finish. But you get the idea here who the guys are that are good on the long run. Tyler Barnett here, talking about that battle between him and Sample. He was able to get by the 47. So Tyler Barnett with a chance to podium here in his first race of the season. And for John Legger, doesn't look like he's going to be able to catch the 47 as he currently sits about 10 seconds back from fourth place. Janczak still sitting right at about a half a second back. Bryce Rayner continues to try to break up that draft just a little bit here. And they will be coming to 2 laps to go this time. So if we're going to get a caution, it's going to have to happen on this lap. The field, though, pretty spread out. You can see it on the track map. In the top right of your screen, not a lot of areas where you would expect there to be an incident. And I would say if Janczak doesn't get to him here, probably coming off of turn 4 this lap, I don't think he's going to have enough time to get back there. The gap's still about half a second. Remember, the draft gets stronger the closer you get. And for Rayner here, does he feel like he needs to break it anymore? It looks like he will. See him snaking that truck around one more time down the backstretch. One more quick look here from the blimp cam. That's the blimp cam at some of the action out back. And we talked about, 3 wide here. Be a hold your breath moment. That's George Young, Brian High, and Jason Machado as they go into turn 1. We'll go back to tabs on that battle in just a moment because up front, white flag is in the air. This race is official. 1 lap to go at Michigan. Bryce Rayner, we talked so much about everything he's been able to do over the course of the last couple of seasons. Certainly up there for one of the winningest drivers in any of the Grindstone series. But here this season, he started it off right. Got a win at Texas. And his teammate Janczak returned. They battled it out last week, and it was the 97 who bested the 87 tonight. It is going to be another victory, second one of the season. The 87 comes off at turn 4. Bryce Rayner fended off his teammate, and coming across the front stretch for the final time, Bryce Rayner is going to win it in Irish Hills, Michigan. Janczak takes second. And going towards the back of the field, we saw that one battle between George Young and a couple of others. Looks like they have just about sorted this out, but coming down the backstretch here, 48 of George Young has the advantage. You fend off Brian High one more corner. Looks like he will. Sheldon Pearson, Jason Machado. They're going to hold side by side for it here as well. The 46 on the inside. Pearson slips up. Oh, man, almost a little contact, but it looks like the 46. All right, and welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. Apologize for that. Internet did give out just briefly. We were in the middle of saying your race winner is Bryce Rayner, and unfortunately, as you can see, as part of the fact that the internet did go down, it has caused a few issues here, so apologies for the black screen. But nonetheless, Bryce Rayner is your race winner. He was giving us a little celebration while the stream briefly cut out. But with that, we will still have the opportunity to get some driver interviews here tonight. We are going to start first with none other than your race winner, and that is the 87 of Bryce Rayner. And we'll pull him in here in just a moment. Bryce, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Austin.
Well, you win the race here tonight. Unfortunately, the internet did give out briefly, so we don't get a chance to actually watch your burnouts. But hey, nonetheless, we saw you cross the line. It was a phenomenal battle all race with your teammate Craig Janczak. What was the difference there at the end that gave you just that edge over the 97?
I don't know. I just said that I was able to run the bottom better than he can, and just save a little bit of tire. But he said he could run the bottom. It just, with that lap traffic getting on his way on the exit, kind of screwed up his run and keep up the draft. So all in all, really good race. Surprised my PC was able to continue. I thought I was going to drop the race with like 20 laps in, but luckily we were able to continue on, and some blinking issues here and there. I just didn't want to get in anybody's way. But all in all, really good race. Tire saving issue, big time. Was able to run the bottom fairly decently to get runs like that, and I was able to pass from the bottom, which was great. And then the middle, I just kind of stayed in the middle because I knew, I didn't think Craig can get a run on the bottom, and if he wanted to run somewhere, he'd probably have to run in my dirty air.
And it played out pretty much exactly like that. And, second win of the season here, Bryce, and this is going to give you the lead in the championship standings. But next week, first crown jewel of the season, we're headed to the Brickyard. How do you feel about your chances there, and how much would it mean to win at a track like Indianapolis?
It's always good to win at Indy. I know it's a tough track with how flat the banking or how flat the track is, plus the minimal banking that you do get in the corners. That's going to be another tire saving quality, especially the right front. So if you could just manage that, you can probably pull away from the draft if you can.
Absolutely. Well, Bryce, a good finish for you here tonight. Course second win of the season. So before we do let you head out to celebrate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, always. Thanks to Grindstone Developments. They do a tremendous job with doing this league. Same as all the admins, they do an awesome job. Next, PGR eSports, Austin, you guys do a phenomenal job broadcasting for us. Great quality of a stream and just hearing everything that you got to say. Really, really good job there. Love to go watch it back here and there. Secondly, Digital Sim Sports, Team Conti Sim Performance, Grid and Go, Martin PC, and of course.
And Bryce, we appreciate you talking
from last week, which is awesome. No, you're good.
I apologize that you cut out for me for just a moment.
You're
Go
good.
ahead. Continue.
Okay. All right. No, you're good. I just want to thank my buddy Craig, tremendous driver. Obviously, we're preparing for the Daytona 24, so super excited for that. And yeah, we kind of swapped from last week to this week.
Certainly did. You two going to be battling all season. Bryce, again, thanks for talking to us. Congrats on the win, and hopefully we'll see you back next week.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, now that's going to bring us up to your second place finisher. Before we do, again, apologies here for, we had a good stream all night. Not sure what's going on here with the internet at the end, but nonetheless, going to try to get through the rest of the interviews before it decides to drop out again. And with that, that does bring us to your second place finisher here tonight, the 97 of Craig Janzak. Craig, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. How you doing, man?
Good. Well, you bring home a pretty good finish here tonight. You come up one spot short, though, of the win over your teammate. Got to start first kind of with the same question I asked Rainer, but vice versa. What more do you think you needed there to catch up?
Yeah, I knew as soon as I hit that lap traffic on the exit of 2, that one bad time, that it was over then. These tires were just so damn hot, and kudos to the field for keeping it together on really treacherous track conditions in the first place. That was a really, really fun race with the track temp over 120. The Digital Sim Sports Martin PC Silverados were feeling really, really sporty out front there with Bryce and I, and he got that good run on me and got me cleared there, and I was just biding my time because, honest to God, it was actually an advantage to be in second place for sure. Just with how rear dependent everything was, you could kind of pour some dirty air on the truck in front of you and kind of slide them up out of the groove without any real effort or super harmful intent there. And I was so happy to be sitting there P2, and I was going to be in a good spot, but we caught that lap traffic at a bad time, and that told the story tonight, and I'm fine with that. I'm real happy for my teammate Bryce there getting the win, and for coming home P2. Feels really good.
Absolutely, and yeah, as you just noted, they're still fast all night until, of course, you caught the lap cars there at the end. Now, I am curious, we saw a lot of pack racing early on, even with that really hot track temp. What's kind of the difference? What do you have to do to kind of manage being able to stay up front in the short run, but then also still saving enough to have that speed in the long run?
Yeah, it's for me, it's always smooth pedal inputs. That's the way that my tire saving has gone to an all-time personal best. And I will, anybody that asks me, that's always my advice out to them. It's pretty easy, pretty fun, once you get in a groove with that pedal work. But, you don't want to fall too far. You got to keep the draft, of course. But you don't also, I just learned here tonight, because this aero model is still really new to me. I just learned how much you don't want to be in front on a hot track like this, because you'll get aero griefed into every turn if you've got a truck within about a half truck length or so. You'll be sliding rears the whole time. So it's a delicate balance, but it's what makes racing really fun, not just at this track, but in this league as a whole.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you head out here tonight, Craig, to round out a good finish for you, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, huge thanks to you guys, PGR eSports. Great broadcast as always. Good to be back with you guys. Thanks and congratulations to Bryce for the win, of course. Digital Sim Sports preparation for Daytona 24 is as crazy as it could be, and you can now see that the road wheel is on the wheelbase here for Daytona practice, which will be hitting here right away. Thanks to Martin PC for their support as well. My family, mom, dad, Aunt Sandy, Uncle Lee, Chris, my girlfriend Anna, for supporting me as well, and all the viewers out there. Thanks for tuning into PGR each week and supporting our shenanigans. It means a lot.
Craig, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on the second place finish, and we will see you next week.
Cheers.
All right, there you go. And now that'll bring us up to your final podium finisher here of the night, making his first start of the season. That's the 84 of Tyler Barnett. Tyler, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do. Sorry for the bad quality of mic. My mic on my computer was not working.
No worries at all. Well, man, you finished third here tonight, and really the last time we saw you was a couple wins that you got last season in the late model cars, but first race here tonight, obviously a lot to learn. What did you think about your run overall, and how do you feel like you can carry some momentum from tonight into the rest of the season?
I think my run tonight was pretty solid. This is the first race I've done in a truck since about early 2024. So it's been approaching 2 years now since I've actually driven and raced one of these trucks. So pretty solid coming back to it. It's definitely changed a lot, and I was trying to get a handle on it during the race. What I can do better and what I can learn is just learn from the guys ahead of me, like Bryce and Craig. I remember Bryce saying that he's excited for the truck series, and that's what he's really good at, and obviously it showed tonight. And then obviously Craig with 6,000 iRating. I haven't raced against him before, but you can tell he's obviously very good, and their teammates too. So I think overall I had enough speed to hang with them. I think my tires were good enough as well. I think I was managing my tires fairly decently for being in that pack, especially early on when we were all under a blanket. I think if I had a partner, or if I was able to get a little bit better into my box, I would come out a little bit quicker. And I feel like I could have hung with them and just kind of chugged along in their draft for a while as they all went up to the field, giving me a chance. But overall, I'm definitely happy with it. I'm very competitive, so I'm not happy per se for finishing third. But again, you gotta live and learn. Like I said, first time in these trucks in a long time, and good run. And again, I got to learn a little bit from Craig and from Bryce, thankfully. So hopefully next week I can come in, be a little bit stronger, and then just keep on growing throughout the season. It's not the late model for sure, where I'm definitely a little more familiar with that.
Definitely a little different, but still a good run tonight. And, Tyler, looking at the rest of the schedule, we've got a mix of obviously some technical tracks, but a lot of big racetracks this season. Indianapolis next week, and then in a few weeks after that, Daytona, Atlanta. Do you feel like those kind of tracks are your strong suit, or where do you feel like you could potentially grab that first win this season?
Short tracks for sure. Short tracks have always been my thing. I mean, you saw in the late model series, I felt very comfortable, looked at home on the short tracks, but I definitely want to learn how to get better at the bigger tracks. And it's not like I'm a slouch per se at the bigger tracks. It's like I've won at them before, and I've done leagues before where I've won in them, like in Xfinity, ARCA, etc. Trucks have always been my weakest though, going throughout it. I've done 1 or 2 truck leagues, and they've always been my weakest trucks, or my weakest vehicles. But the bigger tracks, I definitely want to get better at. So I'm trying not to kick myself for not being able to hang with the guys and be up front with them, but going to use that as a learning experience. So hopefully I can get a win at a bigger track. That'd be awesome, honestly, especially with the talent that is in the front right now. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. Well, Tyler, we appreciate you talking to us. So before I let you out, is there anybody that you want to thank or shout out?
PGR eSports, you guys for broadcasting, obviously. Tyler Meeks, now the owner, I'm pretty sure, of the league. So I want to thank him for putting this on. It's been fun. Only my third race with you guys technically overall, but it's been an amazing, fun time. Having a blast with it. You guys are awesome. Hopefully I can get my mic working next week so I can actually talk to the guys instead of having to type in the middle of the chat or in the middle of the race.
Sounds like a plan. Well, Tyler, again, congrats on the podium finish tonight, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from Michigan International Speedway. What a race and what a win for Bryce Rayner, but it was a fun one to watch. Next week, it's off to the Brickyard. If you liked what you saw tonight, you will enjoy it next week as well, and we'll have all that action right here on PGR eSports. As for tonight, as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. Again, apologies for the brief internet outage there just after the race concluded, but that'll do it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports, and until next time,